Welcome all to the Stars of Learning show, and my name is Jyoti Ji, and I'm your host for the show. And each fortnight, I interview the thought leaders in the learning industry who will share their best practices, and we will also discuss challenges, solutions, latest trends, tools, technology, leadership, and their journey in the learning field. So, friends, setbacks are tough on anyone, and turning them into opportunities is a matter of choice. So we need to understand, are we tapping into that potential? At some point or the other in life, everybody goes through this terribly tough times. And most people get stumped by these, they don't know how to handle that. They are plugged with a lot of negative emotions such as, sorrow, anxiety, fear, and a self doubt. They struggle to get back on their feet and find their way through life again. But the truth is, on the other side of setbacks lies great rewards. True leaders know this, which is why they see every setback as an opportunity for personal transformation to achieve exponential success. Yes, friends, I'm referring to the book called Setback Leadership by the author Srijata Bhatnagar. She brings forth stories of such incredible leaders who have turned their setbacks into breakthroughs. As you read their stories, you will learn the tools, techniques, and strategies, and in turn she also gives a lot of insights on how to handle those setbacks like a pro, and turn every adversity into an opportunity. So, friends, you will be able to deep dive into the minds of these leaders and learn all the techniques on how to handle setbacks. And setbacks will be there, right? And it's just that, your mindset and attitude. And in this book, there are loads of insight. It has a world of possibilities with real life examples. That's the value you see in this book, friends. So I was really inspired when I was going through this book, and I truly believe every situation in life is temporary. Like, the night comes and the day also comes, right? That's the bright side of the life. So when life is good, we need to enjoy it 100%, and when life is not so good, remember that it will not last forever. Yeah. So needless to say that I have invited the author of this book, Srijata Bhatnagar, on this podcast, who will share her great nuggets, experience, strategies. We can discuss with her directly how she's working with leaders to turn setbacks into huge success. With this note, a little brief about our guest, Srijata Bhatnagar. She is an international speaker and author of 5 books, friends, including Setback Leadership. And thanks to her inquisitiveness, circumstances, and her entrepreneurial experience, she has been through various setbacks in her life too, and she has turned that into professional and personal success eventually. So there are a lot of honors also include friends to her. Kitty, she's been into an entrepreneur award winner 2020, and even Women Economic Forum. She's been awarded as an exceptional women of excellence, and she's chairing Professional Speakers Association of India, and she's also a speaker in that Women Economic Forum. And I know her from the same platform, Professional Speaker Association, and I also follow her on the LinkedIn and Insta and see her great insights on how to turn these setbacks into a great opportunity. So without any further delay, let me welcome my guest Srijata. Once again, Srijata, a warm welcome to Stars of Learning podcast.
Thank you so much, Jyoti. You already gave, I think, set the base for today's podcast with setback opportunities, a little bit of an understanding of what it means and how it works out. So I'm really, really thankful for having me here, and I'm hoping to impart some knowledge to your listeners today.
Definitely, Srijata. It's really great honor to have you on my show. So to begin, Sri, our topic for today is setback leadership and turning adversity into opportunity. And you have been a co-author and author for multiple books, and this has been the key book. And when I do a Google search with this particular keyword, setback leadership, guess what it throws me? It's only Srijata all over the Google page, okay? And again any pages I get into, it again directs me to Srijata. So that's the kind of a insight you are already providing to the world. So with I thought I should be bringing you to this discussion, Srijata. So to move on, Srijata, pandemic or no pandemic, you know, there is setback in people's life, and this is disappointing. You're also known as the iron lady who can cry, right? So, what is your experience and your insight to people going through this phase?
Yes, you're right. Whether it is pandemic or no pandemic, we always have setback in our lives. It's as normal as breathing. If we stop breathing, we will die. Similarly, if we do not have setbacks in our life, we wouldn't grow.
True.
That's my personal view on this.
Yeah.
As Bill Gates says, that success is a lousy teacher. What he looks for people is people having experiences in failures, because he believes that when you have been through multiple failures is when you have learned exponentially and gained knowledge and experience exponentially. So I believe in the same thing what he says, and I totally resonate with what he says on this, that unless setbacks comes in your life, you will
Hmm.
find very little opportunities of growth.
Okay.
So for me, setback leadership means embrace that setback, look for an opportunity to grow, and grow exponentially so that you can reach towards higher success.
Hmm. Hmm. Wonderful one, Srijata. And I missed to ask you, very important one. Why this book? So why this setback leadership book?
Well, I think when I was initially writing this book, I myself was going through a lot of challenges. I mean, I've been through multiple challenges in my life. I talk about 9 different kinds of setbacks that you would go through any point in your life. And that might bog you down really badly. 9 different kinds of setbacks. Now, this may not be a comprehensive list of setbacks, but these are predominantly ones, right? For example, you may go through a financial difficulty in some part of your life. You may go through a relationship challenge in some part of your life. You may go through a professional challenge where you are, working on a particular thing for years together and you have not really got promotions or growth in your organization, whereas your peers and your juniors have, went past ahead of you. Likewise, there are many different kinds of setbacks that you can experience in your life. Now, when this
Right.
bogs you down, this is an opportunity lost.
Hmm.
When any kind of challenge or when any kind of a setback or a failure bogs you down, it is a big opportunity lost at your part.
Right.
So
Right.
hence, while I was looking forward to it, I
Hmm.
was writing down the book from a point of view of, okay, what are the 10 mistakes, the 9 mistakes that I have made in my life that helped
Hmm.
me grow much bigger.
Hmm.
So that was
Hmm.
if you look at initial manuscript of this book, I had titled it 10 mistakes of my life.
Okay.
But then eventually I realized that, okay, why only mistakes about my life? What about other leaders? And by then I was already working with many leaders from many industries, many different walks of lives, etc. And when I
Hmm.
was talking to them, one common theme was that most of them had a big challenge or a big setback in their life.
Okay.
And because of that setback, they are where they are today.
Hmm. Hmm.
Now, that was fascinating, when I was talking to them. And then I realized that maybe I should bring in their stories into the book to let people realize
Hmm.
that setbacks are actually not that bad. Instead, they are awesome, because when they come in your
Hmm.
life, you have the opportunity to spring back into much bigger growth. And
Right.
that's how setback leadership was born. It was
Hmm.
predominantly born, or it was written for people who are struggling as leaders, because I don't believe that leaders are only found in professional spheres. because leaders are there in every sphere. A
Hmm.
mother is a leader too, a
Hmm.
housewife is a leader too, a
Yeah.
person who is working under a leader or working under a boss is a leader too. He's an individual contributor, but he's leading the way for
Hmm.
his own growth on his own performance. So
Right.
this was written for people who are going through certain challenges in their life at this point in time,
Hmm.
and which could help them find an opportunity in that same challenge
Wow.
and come out victorious.
Okay.
So
Wonderful.
that's the book is all about.
Definitely loads of spring back and being positive about the whole thing, and I can see that energy when you are sharing this insight, Srijata. Thanks for sharing this and making this aware to my listeners. It's just not about you; it's many leaders' story in the book. So while we are talking about the leaders, Srijata, your expertise lies in guiding business and leaders to rise beyond their challenges, right? And we live in a society where people have flawed thinking. So how to deal with that?
Yes. So, see, majority of us, I wouldn't say majority of us, but most of us believe that we don't have a problem.
Hmm.
It's like that rabbit which digs a hole and puts his head inside the hole to behave that the world can't see it. The rabbit believes that the world can't see it, but the world is able to see as well as catch. So,
True.
if any of the leaders or any organizations have such kind of mindset, I I am really worried for them honestly, because that way, at this volatile world, in a VUCA world that we call in the technical term, it is
Hmm.
difficult to grow, and it's difficult to
Yeah.
not only grow but stay afloat and sustain, right? So therefore,
Hmm.
the broad-mindedness is going to become the need of the hour for such organizations,
Hmm.
and therefore they
Hmm.
need to look at things differently. They have to first of all acknowledge, yes, there is a problem in my setting. Only after you
Hmm.
acknowledge can you really look at changing it. So the first
Hmm.
step should be acknowledgement in such situations.
Right. Right. That's again a powerful one, Srijata. So again, acknowledge and you're also saying in the VUCA world, uh, you say in your book when I was going through, setbacks are good and setback is awesome. You mentioned that there's one chapter. So why do you say so?
Well, the reason I say that is because, in my experience, as well as speaking and working with many other leaders and many other organizations, I've found the bigger the challenge they face,
Hmm.
the bigger the growth and success they receive.
Okay.
And let me give you an example. I recently traveled back from Maldives a week back, and when I went there, uh, there was already a setback that they were dealing with.
Hmm.
I was supposed to go to another place, another resort, another island resort, whereas there that island was going through COVID outbreak in their island. So
Okay.
they had to divert my training to another island, another resort of their own, where I
Okay.
went.
Hmm.
Now look at this situation, right? The first resort where I was supposed to go and train them,
Hmm.
they were having a big outbreak of COVID.
Right.
They could have sat down and said, "Oh no, we are having a COVID outbreak. Now we can't do anything about it. We can't get Srijata on board,
Hmm.
and we have to stop this training." They
Right.
didn't do it. They
Hmm.
divert that challenge into an opportunity for
Hmm.
their other resort in
Hmm.
other situation, thereby
Hmm.
giving them an opportunity to learn and giving me an opportunity to speak.
Hmm.
Right? So it's an awesome situation if you look at it from another point of view, right?
Yeah.
Yes, you
Yeah.
hit a roadblock, but that's not stopping your growth. That is actually propelling you for higher growth. That is
Hmm.
exactly
Hmm.
why I say that setbacks are awesome. You need
Yeah.
to have them in your life.
Yeah. Yeah. Truly agree, Srijata. I think wonderfully laid out. Saying that stop participating in the problem and look at the opportunities for the growth and success, and that way we can look at awesome things happening. So Srijata, in this journey, how do we handle setbacks and criticism?
Yes, criticism happens to be a big pain point for a lot of people. In
Right.
fact, it used to be a big problem for me as well. I used to hate, especially getting criticized by my husband, you see. So, right. So, you can take criticism from the outer world, but when the criticism comes from your inner circle,
True.
it becomes really difficult to deal with it.
Yeah.
And for some people, even criticism for outer world becomes, a difficult proposition.
Yeah.
Now, eventually, what I did, I realized that these people were actually criticizing me, not because they hated me.
Hmm.
It was not the reason.
Hmm.
They
Hmm.
were criticizing me because they wanted to see a better version of me.
Okay.
They wanted to see a more improved version of me.
Hmm. Hmm.
So when I realized that their entire intention was not to make me feel bad, but their intention was to make me grow,
Hmm.
become a better version of myself, that's when I started taking them as rewards.
Hmm. Hmm. Right.
And I started listening to them and understanding where are they coming from. And
Hmm.
sometimes you will feel, oh, you have a blind spot which you were not able to see,
Hmm.
which they could see, and that's why they pointed it out to you. But
Right.
in some cases, you will realize maybe the perspective is different.
Hmm.
Therefore, the criticism is not really a criticism,
Hmm.
it's just a difference of perspective.
Yeah.
So, opening your mind towards understanding that criticism
Hmm.
is first step
Yeah.
to making a change. Now,
Right.
also, you will be dealing with people who will criticize for the sake of criticizing. And with
Yes.
experience, you will get to know whom to just shun out when it comes to such criticism.
Hmm. Hmm.
And that you can do by practicing of
Hmm. Hmm.
receiving
Hmm.
criticism, realizing, analyzing, and seeing, okay, what is a real criticism, what is a growth related criticism, and what is a criticism just to make you feel bad.
Right. Right.
And stop feeling bad about those criticism.
Yeah.
You don't have to feel bad about it. As simple as that.
Hmm.
That's how I deal with it right now.
Yeah. I think it is well laid out, Srijata, asking for better version of you, and seeing that blind spot, and think about it, why that criticism is coming. You know, I don't. That's a matured mindset, right? And what happens when this criticism runs? There are a lot of emotions running internally, like confused, angry, hate, unsure. How do we handle that? My question. I mean, is it while you look at better version of you and seeing that blind spot, is it okay to show our emotions at that moment?
Yes, 100%. I am all in for showing your emotions because those emotions define us. And it's a way to
Hmm.
channelize our inner energies towards things.
Hmm.
But what I say is
Okay.
that the emotions that are unproductive to you, that are not really helping you, right, to get into
Hmm.
a
Hmm.
state which you're really looking forward to. Like for me, I like to be relaxed all the time. That's my top emotion. All the time I'm relaxed. I'm neither ecstatic
Hmm.
nor disappointed. I'm in a very
Hmm.
sane, very standard kind of an emotion. Now that's the emotion most of the time I'm trying to bring myself to. Now, for example, if
Right.
I'm completely upset, sad,
Hmm.
disappointed,
Hmm.
angry, afraid of anything, first thing would be
Hmm.
to just relax, slow down,
Right.
breathe. Breathing is a
Hmm.
brilliant way to bring yourself into a more composed emotion. So breathe
Hmm.
until your senses come back to a situation where you can think, right? When
Right.
you are able to think, you will realize that most of these emotions are redundant. They're
Hmm.
not making any sense after a point in time. And when that
True.
happens, what I do is whenever I'm in such emotions, I write down what is making me angry, what is the
Hmm.
fear that I have, what is making me feeling disappointed or upset about something. Once I write that
Hmm.
down, I realize majority of it is in my head.
Right.
It's probably not the reality.
Hmm.
And then to validate that, just find the source that is making you angry. It is sometimes it is
mm,
not the words of the person or the person in itself, but the meaning that you attach to the words,
yeah,
right? The same
very true.
words, if I speak to you versus somebody else, might get
Mm,
different kind of reaction, because you
mm,
are giving a different meaning to that word versus somebody else who is giving different meaning to that same word. Now,
mm,
why is it so? That's mostly internal. It's mostly based on our past experiences, based on our patterns, and so on. So when that
true.
you realize, you know that your emotion for that particular top, for that particular reason, is most often invalid. And
Mm,
that's when you become more sane. And you realize that, okay, fine, this is what I need to work on probably. This is where I'm going
mm,
wrong. And then you start working on it.
right, right.
So idea is to bring yourself in a state where you are
Mm,
composed, you
yeah.
are in a position to take right decisions, and you're able
Mm,
to take action. I always
mm,
say this: never promise something to somebody when you're happy, and
mm,
never make a decision when you are angry or upset or unhappy.
mm. Rightly said,
Both
Neeraj.
are both are really, really damaging. All I can say is that.
Right, right. So lot of things you mentioned here, the relaxed breathing in and writing down and, be composed, to take action. So to do all of this, are there any tools and strategies, Neeraja, you want to propose?
Yes, there are different kinds of tools and strategies that one can use, and it all depends upon what
Mm,
brings you into that zone where you want to get into. Right. So let me give you the tools
mm,
that I use for myself. One is I breathe. Okay, so
mm,
whenever I would feel that there is a jitter in my heart is beating really, really fast for something, I'll start breathing very, very heavily. I'll take deep
right.
breaths and up and down for a few seconds to calm me down. If that doesn't
Mm,
work, second option that I do is I listen to certain music that cheers me up, that
mm,
brings me up into my the standard zone, the equilibrium
mm,
zone, right? So that's the second thing that I do. The third thing that I do is I sometimes even play music which again brings me into a zone, and I dance. I'll just,
mm.
in an empty room, I'll play music in my Alexa and I'll start dancing. And that brings me into
Okay.
a zone of thinking and zone of calm, right? Once that happens,
Mm,
then I'm back to normal. So these are the three
right.
things that I do. So for others, there
Okay.
could be, for example, writing. Journaling is a great tool to calm your mind down. You can try that out.
Mm-hmm.
There is
Hmm.
another tool around writing down the negative emotions. There was a
Hmm.
time a
Hmm.
few years back when I was going through a streak of bad timing. I was going through depression. And
Hmm.
my counselor had suggested me that write down whatever is happening in your head in a diary. I still have the diary with me. Nobody knows in my
Okay.
family that I have that diary. If they read it, if I read it now, I laugh at it. But those were the emotions that I was going through at that point in time, and I wrote it down,
Hmm.
right? So
Right.
that's
Right.
writing down in a book your
Yeah.
negative or your unproductive emotions can really help you calm down.
Hmm. Hmm.
It clears your head. So try
Right.
any of
Right.
these and see which works for you.
Yeah, yeah. I think journaling is something very powerful. So, my listeners, I think almost all of my guests have on my podcast have recommended, journaling is powerful. Look at my episode number 17, which has great insights on how you can use the journaling on a daily basis to be a better you. So, Srijata, moving on, you did say, be composed to take action and all that. But there's a common mindset, looking at the other side. And we always feel that the other side is greener. And what we don't realize is, uh, they would have taken a lot of effort taking into action. And there is also, like, there's a constant need of emotional trap we get into looking at others. How do we deal with that? Because that leads to setback.
Yes, that's very, very true. And since we were, I think, few years old, like a 5, 6 years old, we were in kindergarten. We were always taught this particular proverb: "Grass is greener on the other side of the river." right? I mean, I remember reading it. I didn't understand it at that point in time. We all of us have read it, probably. We all of us
Right.
have understood it, or learned it, but never really understood the deeper meaning of it, right? Now,
True. True.
and that's the beauty of it. Like, you've been taught some of these things as a child, but because your mind wasn't really matured at that point in time, it was difficult for you to understand it. So,
Hmm.
my recommendation here would be that, yes, even though we know that grass is always looks greener on the other side of this, you know a river, but it
Hmm.
not
Hmm.
necessarily the case. Maybe we all know it, but how do we
Yeah.
internalize it? Let me
Hmm.
ask you a question, and also to the listeners right now. Who is your biggest competition?
Hmm. Yeah.
Answer it. Just
Biggest
answer this.
competitor is it should be me,
It has to be
according
you.
to me.
It has to be
Yeah.
me. It has to be my own competition is me. And if I am able to become even 2% better on a daily
Hmm.
basis, so say today
Hmm.
I am at 10%, tomorrow I become 12% by doing maybe one task, just one task that makes me a little better than before. Are
Right.
you growing?
Hmm.
Are you becoming
Right.
better?
Right.
If the
Yeah.
answer is yes, then why do you have to look at the other side at all?
Hmm. Yeah.
That's
I
where
know.
I would leave it to.
Very well laid out. Our competition is with us, and it's a lifestyle, and it's an ongoing process which we need to adapt to this kind of thing.
Very true.
So Niraj, we are living in a VUCA world, and you did say that relax, breathe in music and dance and all of that. People today are so busy with the time, they don't have uh, you know have time to accept and respond to setbacks. And you also say, pause and reflect. And when I coach people also, they also say that, Jyoti, it's not as easy as said. So what is your views when people say this
I just
to you?
like to ask them that, do you have 10 seconds a day?
Okay.
Can you spend
Yeah.
10 seconds a day for yourself?
Hmm.
Just 10 seconds at the beginning of the day and at the end of the day.
Hmm. Hmm.
If that is there, you don't need much time. So let me share with you what's my morning ritual is. The first
Hmm.
thing, I wake up, I touch my heart while I'm closing my eyes, still lying down, and I just thinking about the day ahead, and also, giving my gratefulness to the
Hmm.
universe that I'm still alive. I'm still ready to do so many things that I'm pending, and
Hmm.
I have another day with me. That's the first thing that I do in the morning. And the last
Hmm.
thing that I do in the night before sleeping is looking at the day that just went by. Again,
Hmm.
10 seconds, not more than that. While lying down in my bed, taking deep breaths just to get into my senses and thinking, okay,
Hmm.
this is how the day went by. These are the things that I did well. These are the things I could have done better.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
thank you, universe, for allowing me to do this.
Hmm.
So 10 seconds in the
Wonderful.
morning, 10 seconds in the night. Try this
Right.
out.
Yeah. Yeah.
You don't have to spend
I'm
so much
taking.
time with yourself.
Yes.
It's the lamest excuse that I have ever heard, that I don't have time, because
Right.
all of us all of us in this world get the exact amount of time,
Right.
24 hours a day. None of us
True.
get more, none of us get less.
Yes, yes.
So
Very powerful one. So friends, what Shri is telling is, 10 seconds to move out of that grief cycle, and which will allow you to thrive. So we need to give that 10 seconds, morning and night, and being that gratitude mindset will help us to move away from this setback. So, Srijata, again, you did mention, you did give us a lot of tools and all of that, where a lot of us are struggling because of this COVID and pre-COVID. whatever the reason could be. How to bounce back after a setback?
Yes, and this is the toughest one. And why I say this is the toughest one is because every setback is different, and every person's bouncing back mechanism is also different. Right now,
Right.
it has to be a particular setback oriented and then bounce back strategy based on what suits you. Uh, just to give
Hmm.
a sense of a generalized understanding that when you are going through a setback, you have to
Hmm.
go with the flow.
Hmm.
You need to understand that most of it is out of your control. You are
Hmm.
not the
Hmm.
reason that the setback is happening to you. There could be many other
Hmm.
variables around you which could actually create this setback, and you have very little control over any of these. So that's
Hmm.
point number one.
Hmm.
Remember that you are not the setback, it's the result that is the setback.
Right.
That's point number one. Point number two is, remember and ask yourself, have I put in my best efforts? Have I done my
Hmm.
best? Could I have done
Hmm.
better?
Hmm.
If the first answer is yes and the second answer is no, then you should never concentrate on the outcome,
Hmm. Hmm.
because you know you've done your best. And in that situation,
Right.
whatever result comes is a combination of many other things that fell together,
Hmm. Hmm.
right?
Right.
Like we say that you are not your success is your success, and you are
Hmm.
you. So
Right.
similarly, your failures or your setbacks are not you. They are your
Hmm.
setbacks and failures, and you are you. You are just one variable in that entire equation, right? So that is second
Right.
thing, that you realize that you are not the reason, right?
Hmm.
And the last thing that you need to do is
Hmm.
just let it pass. Take your time. See, anytime
Hmm.
whenever you're going through a setback, there will be a peak when you will
Yes.
be really feeling low.
True.
Let that peak go down.
Hmm. Hmm.
Let it sink down
Okay.
before you actually take your next action.
Hmm. Hmm.
You need to get into a standardized zone before you're able to take an
Yeah.
action to mitigate that setback or mitigate that failure or challenge.
Right. Right.
Unless you get into that zone, do not try bouncing back.
Hmm.
Give
Hmm.
yourself time
Yeah.
before
Yeah.
you bounce back.
Yeah. So, Shri, I think this is really powerful three steps which you have given us. Look at the result, be your best, and let it pass, and standardize that that zone. Then you are able to reflect, and you can bounce back. Uh, Followed with this only, Shri, I see a lot of your examples coming out in that book. Uh, if you can give one example, how did you lead through that disappointment or setback?
You want my personal example?
Yes.
Okay, let me give you the recent one, which is the fresh in my mind. So, as I was telling you that I just returned from Maldives, and about 2 months back, we planned this trip and everything else, and the sessions got done, etc., etc. Just about 2.5 weeks to 3 weeks before the travel, I got a call from the regional director of learning and development of that particular resort, and saying that Srijata, I have a bad news for you.
Hmm.
Okay, I was like, okay, tell me what it is. So
Hmm.
I'm already preparing my mind. I took a deep
Right.
breath and I was preparing my mind. So he
Okay.
said that I'm so sorry. We had to close down our resort, our private island, because there is a
Hmm.
huge COVID outbreak in the island, and the government has
Hmm.
asked us to shut down till everything
Okay.
becomes sanitized and comfortable. So I was
Oh.
like, okay. So what does this mean, right? So I asked him
Hmm.
this question: what does this mean? She said, that means you
Hmm.
cannot travel to this particular island. I said, okay, all right,
Hmm.
I understand. So, what should be the
Hmm.
next point in action? Now, look at me. I'm not going bogged down into the entire thing, right? I'm asking
Right.
questions which will be which will help me make a decision, an informed decision,
Decision.
right?
Right.
So then he said, give me some time, let me work out.
Hmm.
I'll try and
Hmm.
make sure that you don't have to cancel your trip and you're still able to come and add value to us. But give me some time.
Hmm.
Now that
Okay.
some time became a 10 days long time. In this
Hmm.
10
Hmm.
days, I did go through many cycles of, thinking that, oh no, what will happen? Oh no, what will happen? Oh no,
Hmm.
will I have to cancel my trip and this and that? And because my husband and daughter was also traveling and it was their
Hmm.
holiday trip, so there was another
Hmm.
layer of stress in the mind.
Hmm.
But on the other
Yeah.
hand, I was also thinking maybe there is a great potential behind it. Maybe this setback
Hmm.
is going to bring out a brilliant opportunity under this. Maybe.
Hmm.
And when I told this to my husband, he was also worried and he started doing research on other resorts and where we can go and things like that. I said, hold on, hold on,
Hmm.
give some time. So this 10 days
Hmm.
went by in that roller coaster ride. Now, at the end of 10
Okay.
days, the regional director came back and said that I have found a solution of our problem and you're
Hmm.
traveling to our another resort, which is still in
Hmm.
Maldives, which is still free and which is much better
Okay.
than the current resort.
Okay.
So this could
Yeah.
only happen because one, I calmed myself down and did not
Right.
take a hasty decision. Think about it. If I
Right.
would have thought, oh my God, COVID is happening in this particular island, how can I travel to this country and cancelled my ticket? What would have happened?
Hmm. Yeah.
Many
Lost
of us would do
opportunity.
that, right? But I
True.
didn't. So that is the way you
Hmm.
deal with things.
Hmm.
And coming
Yeah.
back again, I will say I would never promise something to somebody when I'm super happy, and I would
Hmm.
never take a decision and an action when I'm super upset or in a in a zone which is unproductive. So
Powerful one. Yeah. Yeah, I keep saying this, for people when I'm doing an email training. Don't respond to emails when you're angry, and I'm able to
absolutely,
resonate.
absolutely. This is applicable to any walks of life and for anybody. It doesn't have to be only on professional sphere. It also
Right,
has can be with your spouse, with your kids, with your parents, with your family, with your friends, anyone for that matter. It's a standard rule.
right. Sure, sure. So, Shri, moving on, I see one of your dream, and you believe in giving wholeheartedly, and you also want to see a better balanced world, which you are actively creating through this work, right? Or giving this insight on the setback leadership. Is there a step or a guideline from your journey you want to help? Uh, how do you do that with the leaders to rebound from a setback?
So first thing is I listen to them. Okay, I listen and understand what is the crux of the story, because most
Mm.
often when they're going through a setback there is a top layer, there's a surface
Mm.
level layer, but when you go deep down there's a lot
Right.
more happening there. So
Yes.
what you see in the surface level is actually not the real challenge. The real challenge is when you go deep down. So
Right.
as a as a coach or as a setback leader myself, working with other
Mm.
leaders, my first job is to listen.
Mm.
you know and when I listen is when I find out, okay, actual problem is not what they were talking about initially, but the main problem is this. And
Mm.
once that actual problem is found, the root cause is found, that's when I spring into action along with the team that is working, right, along with the leaders team that is
Mm.
working. And first thing I
Mm.
do is I ask them to change. I work on their mindset. I work
Mm.
on the process that they are using to get rid of that challenge. And I also
Mm.
give them tools and strategies that can help
Mm.
them productively use their mindset and the processes.
Okay.
So I
Interesting.
change their mindset. I help them change the process that can bring out more productive result. And lastly, I also work on the tools and strategies that can help them bring out better results and better, success rate for them, even
Mm.
after these setbacks. So this is what I
Mm.
do as a structure, and
Mm.
it's a very high intense, I would say, process.
Right.
There's a lot of
Right.
high For me, it is a lot more deep work with them. So
Hmm.
that is what defines and that is what differentiates what I do
Hmm.
with these leaders.
Mm-hmm. Wonderful, Srijata. I think that's much of the need to know that layer of the stories also. Yeah, and a lot of framework and a lot of nuggets you have given us. Um, the simple tips, which we can practice in our day-to-day life. So, Srijata, is there anything else you would like to add that will be of value to my listeners?
All I would say is don't be afraid of challenges. Don't be afraid of setbacks because
Mm-hmm.
that's not the end of the story. That is actually
Mm-hmm.
beginning of a new great story.
Okay.
Imagine yourself this way. When you are a grandparent, when you become a grandparent where your hair is gray. I have already many gray hairs, by the way. So when you have a lot of gray hair and when your grandchildren want you to tell you stories, what
Hmm.
stories are you going to tell them?
Hmm.
Are you going to tell them the stories of your fear, or are you going to
Hmm.
tell them the stories of your leadership?
Yeah.
So lead
Powerful.
your life accordingly,
Mhm.
that you have enough stories
Right.
to tell your grandchildren.
Right, Srijata. So, ladies and gentlemen, all the links and resources which we have discussed on this podcast will be made available on my show notes page. And it will also be available on my website, prajvitaknowledge.com. That is PRAJVITA, knowledge.com. I will list our conversation for your quick reference. And thank you so much, Srijata, for being on this show. I really enjoyed all the nuggets on this specific topic on setback leadership, turning adversity into an opportunity. I really enjoyed all the conversation and insightful uh, message what you have given to to my listeners, like spring back, acknowledging there are bigger challenges, and the bigger challenges are like for bigger growth and for the bigger success, and look for the opportunity always, and make a better version of you whenever you get into that setback, and seeing that blind spot, and opening your mindset, be open is what you were talking of. And what I liked the most was the knock of unproductive emotions. And a lot of techniques what you taught on relax, breathe in, dance, music, all of that, to be composed and to take action will definitely help us. Journaling is another great tip you had shared. Just recapping what I was able to observe, asking questions, and don't get into hasty decisions, get the clarity, and step back and then bounce. And 10 seconds morning and evening was very powerful. And your two three tips on results focus, be your best and let it pass, and standardizing that zone, our mindset is very very important. And the layer of stories, how we have to keep that listening hat, all of them are very critical and important in our day-to-day life, and I really enjoyed it. Thank you so much, Srijata.
It has been entirely my pleasure, honestly, Jyoti. I loved talking to you completely. And I just hope that the listeners get some good nuggets and they take some good actions out of this particular interview. And happy to connect with anyone who would like to. So, thank you so much for having me here. It's been really a pleasure.
Wonderful, Srijata, having you on my show. So, friends, I hope you enjoyed this conversation with Srijata. And if you have got any learning or motivated hearing to Srijata, then make sure you share this podcast with your friends and post it on social media, and tag me and Srijata, and let us know about this amazing information you have learned, and share this information to help many others to engage, enlighten, and empower. By the way, I'm always grateful to all my lovely listeners who tune in and subscribes to my podcast. And if you have not yet left a review on the iTunes, that would mean a world to me. So please head over to iTunes or any app you're listening to and take a minute to write a quick review. It will help our podcast grow, and I really appreciate your support. Once again, thank you so much for tuning in the show. Bye for now. Take good care of yourself, be safe, and do something engaging, enlightening, and empowering. Thank you.